Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay, we're starting in 4 minutes. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Hare Krishna. One more minute. Mm-hmm. 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 Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our ongoing journey in the adventure of self-realization. Self-realization means understanding oneself in relation to Krishna, the Supreme. And in this particular month of the year called Kartik, or Damodar month, this month of all months is considered the best, most auspicious, and it is especially potent, extra specially potent to engage in Krishna conscious activities, especially hearing and chanting about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his devotional service, his devotees, anything tadiya connected with him. So we take advantage of that. We also worship Lord Damodar, Krishna in his very young child boy form, who was very naughty and was chastised, punished by his dear mother Yashoda. God is complete and perfect in everything he does. Even if he plays as an ordinary child, he does it perfectly, as if he was one himself. Perfectly. So we'll chant Jayaradha Madhava, and then we will go ahead with verses 42 and 43 of the Bhagavad-gita, second chapter. Contents of the Gita summarized. We'll dive more deeply into the question, should we follow the Vedas? Should Hare Krishna adepts or followers follow the Vedas? And Prabhupada will answer that for us clearly. We'll hear and discuss that today. So please take part at any point, especially in the chat, or you can join us on Zoom. I forgot to start recording now. You can join us personally on Zoom. And if you don't have that link, I can send it to you even now, although that's not the best way to do it. If I haven't sent it to you yet, then remind me, and you can join us even visually. Makes it even more connected and personal. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Prajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitya Gaur Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitya Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo. Jaya Radha Damadara Radha Damadara Radha. Jaya Radha Damadara Radha Damadara Radha. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivratakacharya, Asatara Sadhashri Srimad Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivratakacharya, Asatara Sadhashri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Guru Parampara Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT, Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Prem Kaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath, Shama Kunda Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Shri Dwarka Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yoga Ki Jai, Shri Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Kartik Vrat Ki Jai, Shri Damodarastaka Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gita Ki Jai, Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari 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 Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Gauravani Pacharya. Hare Krishna. So I'll read the Sanskrit myself, and then we'll do the word meanings together this time. Bhagavad-gita, second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized, text 42 and 43. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadantyavi paschita Vedavarata partha nanyad asti tivadina kamatmana svarga para janma karma palapadam kriya vishesha bahulam bogashvarya gatim prati. Please repeat after me. Yam imam, all these, pushpitam, flowery, vacham, words, pravadanti, say, avipashchita, men with a poor fund of knowledge, Vedavarata, supposed followers of the Vedas. Partha, O son of Prita, na, never. Anyat, anything else. Asti, there is. Iti, thus. Vadina, advocates. Kama atmana, desirous of sense gratification. Svargapara, aiming to achieve heavenly planets. Janma karma palapadam, resulting in fruit of action, good birth, etc. Kriya vishesha, pompous ceremonies. Bahulam, various. Bhoga, sense enjoyment. Aishvarya, opulence. Gatim, progress. Prati, towards. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Please repeat. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Report by Srila Prabhupada. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available and material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotishtoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices, and men with a poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness. I'll repeat that. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness. As fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions, similarly, unenlightened men are attracted by such heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, it is said that those who perform the 4 monthly penances become eligible to drink the somaras beverages, to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have somaras to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratifications. Such persons have no faith. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual, and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called Nandakanana, in which there is good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women, and having a profuse supply of somaras. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual. Therefore, there are those who are purely attached to material temporary happiness as lords of the material world. So Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashtata Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam Karoti Vachalam, Pangam Langayate Girim, Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, a lame man can cross over mountains, and a dumb man can compose eloquent poetry. Bhagavad-gita, chapter 2, text 42-43. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipashtita vedavadarata partha nanyat asti tivadina kamatmana svarga para janma karma pala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishvarya katim prati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So Prabhupada begins the purport by just expanding on what Krishna is saying to Arjuna. Krishna says men of small knowledge. Now, Prabhupada specifies that people in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas. Now, that's like a summary of the entire purport. So, when Krishna spoke this Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna 5,000 years ago, the situation was that people generally are more interested in material life, high-level material life, heavenly planet material life, maybe, yes, but material life. And because Prabhupada, if they were ignorant then, Krishna was describing that. Prabhupada saying now, people in general are not very intelligent. And we can consider our own situation that due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions. We don't even know about the Vedas. I mean, where in any school, maybe these days it's changing a little bit, in mundane situation, is there any even mention of the Vedas? People don't even know what the Vedas are. Now, Prabhupada talks a lot, Krishna and Prabhupada are talking about those people, maybe the general mass of people who know about the Vedas. They're following prescribed fruitive activities to achieve higher levels of material enjoyment. And we don't even know about the Vedas. So we're, materially speaking, in a more disadvantaged or handicapped position than people even in previous times. And we can see if we stand back and take an objective look at history, we are degrading. There's a nice book written by Karma Prabhu called Human Devolution. Human devolution. Some people think, and most people believe, that we're all just a combination of chemicals. We've come out of material reactions, chemical reactions, and we are evolving. We are developing. We are progressing. But if you study the Vedic society, or any ancient, even slightly civilized society, where civilization now and the general consciousness of the people is seriously depraved. So in that sense, we're in a disadvantaged position. And yet, because we have connection with the Parampara, we have Srila Prabhupada, and who's giving the ripe mango of Vedic knowledge to us without any break, without any change, without any impurity. He said, if I have any credit, I've not changed anything, because I have not changed anything. So the ripened fruit is perfect. It doesn't need anything added. Of course, when the shuka, the parrot, the pure devotee parrot, bites it and gives it to us, then it becomes more deep, more sweet, more potent. That's not changing. That's connecting us most deeply. And the devotee is, pure devotee, spiritual master, is described as more merciful than Krishna, because he will go through terrible suffering and stay with us here in this world. Krishna is always with us. He never leaves us. But pure devotee is willing to go through the physical challenges, although he's beyond them. What did Prabhupada say? Learning how to be in the material world, but not of the material world. And he gives the example of that. He just doesn't say it. He does it. Prabhupada was a perfect example of that. And this particular, and the the final instruction Prabhupada gave in his pastime of disappearing, leaving the material tabernacle, so-called material tabernacle, is coming up a week from yesterday. Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. So that's a very important, valuable day for all of us. Give the thought how to leave the body, how to be ready, and leave without any disturbance. What could be more? What could be a more valuable lesson? Prabhupada, everything he did was teaching us, meant to teach us, and it's completely potent because he did it. He, of course, says he spoke it and he did it. There was no difference between his speaking and his being, his behavior. He was walking his talk. He was what's the word? There was no incongruence. Congruence means no difference between what's going on inside and what's going on outside. What my mentality, what my consciousness, what my thoughts are, and what I do. So pure devotee is congruent, pure in thought, word, and action. That's the definition of a sannyasi. One is surrendered his thoughts, words, and actions in service to the Supreme. So this is a serious warning to us that if we remain inexperienced, if we remain unintelligent, if we only accept the Vedas for the sake of sense gratification or elevation to higher planets and result in good birth, etc., and power, these are all very attractive material things, very, very attractive. If we only stay on that level, then it will be very hard for us, practically impossible for us to have any benefit, any lasting benefit, what to speak of fulfillment, satisfaction and lasting influence in our lives, as long as possible. And it's really struck me when Prabhupada says here in the second paragraph, such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage. That even the possibility, the idea that I could be free from any material bondage is phantasmagoria. I have no faith. I don't believe it. I don't think it's possible. And we may also sometimes think like that because of our conditioning and our lack of any deep knowledge. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, even as practicing bhakti yogis, discouragement is there. We may experience discouragement, and we don't want to just deny it, but we want to take the solution. And part of the solution is to understand where we're at or where we're coming from. As Sri Upanishad described, avidya. One has to understand the material realm and the spiritual realm side by side. It's essential that we understand where we're at now and acknowledge that and take that as an impetus to go further, to leave it behind. And by following Srila Prabhupada, we get the taste, we get the enlivenment, the encouragement, the enthusiasm, and the determination to do that. Otherwise, it's impossible. So here, this section, these 3 or 4 verses here, are a warning. They're making it clear where we're really at, so we can get that, and simultaneously not be held back by it, or not continue striving for these very attractive material opportunities. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planes, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulence and opulent life, they say there is nothing more than this. So people who are overly attached to that even heavenly elevation deny anything else, which is completely against the purpose of the Vedas. Now, most of the Vedas are karmakanda based. In other words, based on performing some activity or some ritual or ceremony or vrat or vow, fasting. Becoming celibate, chanting mantras. Now, these are all Vedic practices. And my question for this class was, should we follow the Vedas? Now, we know, for example, that Lord Buddha came to take people away from the Vedas. Therefore, from some points of view, he's considered atheistic. In one sense, he created a Krishna is a transcendental trickster. So, but because people were using the Vedas for sense gratification, and especially killing animals for eating the dead bodies, so they can become nonviolent, follow the principle of ahimsa. They were using the recommendations in sanctions in the Vedas to allow that, but they were ignoring, for example, that when before they killed a particular animal, they would whisper in its ear, I'm doing this to you now, but you can come back and kill me next life. So the purpose of the Vedas, any of these karmakanda activities, rituals, ceremonies, injunctions are meant for elevating us. So there is restriction. Restriction means it shouldn't be done for the sake of spiritualization. Someone who is a progressive spiritualist, an Aryan, who understands the high spiritual principles of life, they will do whatever they do for the sake of elevating themselves to a higher spiritual level of understanding and relationship with Krishna, with God. And Krishna himself said in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, I am the knower of the Vedas, and by all the Vedas am I to be known. So people who are of small knowledge, men of small knowledge, they don't understand. Neither do they accept what Krishna says. Even though Krishna is providing them with all the Vedas in his form as Veda Vyas, he says, I am the knower of the Vedas, and by all the Vedas am I to be known. This is the purpose. So without knowing the ultimate purpose as given by the author and those who purely represent him, we get distracted. And that's what material life is about. So it's important to understand that we follow the Vedas and we don't follow the Vedas. In the sense that if we take the Vedas as Krishna recommends them, as Prabhupada says in the Nectar of the introduction preface to the Nectar of Instruction, the advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. So our attitude, the way we accept Krishna, the way we accept the Vedas, is the key or the foundation for getting value and getting out of the cycle of birth and death. Because even we get so much material facility and opulence, power, long life, and heavenly happiness. It doesn't last forever. From the highest planet to the lowest, all are places of misery where birth and death take place. Krishna says very clearly. So, therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad-gita, which is the essence of all the Vedas, that we learn from someone who is in disciplic succession. Parampara. And of course, Prabhupada is that person for us. There may be others, but one person we can be completely sure of without the slightest tinge of doubt is Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, we study his books. His books. Unchanged books. And we have direct connection with him. Direct connection, as we do here and now. We try to understand. We discuss here in chant. So please come share any points or questions or doubts, or realizations or inspiration, especially about this subject. Now, should we follow the Vedas? So yes, we follow the Vedas, but also we don't. If the Vedas are without the core, the heart, it's like our body without the heart or the functioning heart, the living heart is a dead body. We're not even conscious. I have a friend here, Dave, a practicing bhakti yogi, seriously practicing bhakti yogi, who had a heart attack recently. Only 58. He's 58. And he lost consciousness at some point. Of course, he was chanting when he was even partly conscious, at least in his mind, and now he's recovering. But he's going through that situation. So if we don't have that living heart, there's an attack on the heart. And then what's stopping the heart? Then in the same way, if we don't have Krishna in the center, the purpose of the Vedas, the goal, by all the Vedas am I to be known. If we don't understand the purpose, then we're lost. What did the Beatles, George Harrison, sing? If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So, therefore, the previous verse Krishna says, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Their aim is one. Ekeha Kurunandana. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So our concentration, our attention, our focus gets splayed, distracted, irresolute. And we accept so much disinformation and distraction instead of again and again bringing ourselves back to the focus, to the goal. Our aim is one, it's Krishna. So unless that's there, of course we're going to be splayed out, we're going to be spaced out, we're going to be distracted. And that's the battle, the daily battle that we fight to keep Krishna in the center. And then he gives the result. So those who are, we can test ourselves because Krishna promises in Bhagavad-gita, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. If someone's just surrendered to the flowery language of the Vedas, Krishna gives them the result. And there's no lasting fulfillment, happiness, power, knowledge. It's all lost. As described in, Krishna describes also the four kinds of men, people who do not surrender to me. And they're including those mayaya aparityana. Even someone has knowledge, it's stolen away by illusion. So people may talk about the Vedas. And we appreciate the Vedas. There's so much, and we say that all knowledge, the word Veda means knowledge. All knowledge is there. At the same time, if we don't know the goal of it, what's the use of the knowledge? It's all lost at death, if not sooner. Prabhupada spoke to one, was invited to speak at one Vedanta society. And they've been studying Vedanta for weeks, months. And Prabhupada asked them, what is the meaning of Vedanta? They're studying Vedanta. And no one knew, no one answered. No one knew the meaning of the word Vedanta. And Prabhupada says, Veda means knowledge and Anta means end. So the end of all knowledge, the goal of all knowledge is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this month, Damodar month, we focus on his most beautiful boyhood baby form. And every day we offer him worship, candle or ghee wick, and we sing Namam Ishvaram Satchit Ananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, etc. I offer my humble, to that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. So we're acknowledging, we're appreciating, we're valuing, we're becoming aware of his eternal form, his devotees, like Mother Jashoda in the parental rasa, the parental relationship, very deep, personal, intimate connection. So we go through the ceremonies, we go through the rituals, we go through the singing, deity worship, going through a ritual or ceremony, offering a candle or ghee wick. For the sake of understanding and becoming closer to Krishna. And generally, the Vedas don't do that directly. They can be taken either way. We have the example of Srila Vyasadeva, who wrote all the Vedas, compiled all the Vedas. And after doing that, all the four, the Atharva, Yajur, Sama, and what's the other one? Atharva, Yajur, Sama, and Rig. all the Vedas. He was dissatisfied. What's going on? He couldn't figure it out. So he went to his spiritual master, Narada Muni, who is the disciple of Lord Brahma, his father, disciplic succession. This is our parampara. And even though Vyasadeva, Srila Vyasadeva is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he gave the example of accepting the spiritual master and depending, especially in challenging times, on the wisdom and guidance of the spiritual master. And Prabhupada describes in one of the upcoming purports how the spiritual master's duty is to understand the nature of the disciple or student or dependent and train him in Krishna consciousness accordingly, according to the Varnashram system. So the Varnashram system is presented there in Bhagavad-gita and expanded in the Vedas, and it can be used for trying to live comfortably and happily in this world. And relatively, materially, that's possible, but it doesn't relieve anyone from the real problems. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease. So these are the real problems, Prabhupada explains many, many times. So Vyasadeva, he was not satisfied. And Narada Muni listened to him, gave him full attention and audience, and he basically laughed at him. And he chastised him. You've given people all the Vedic knowledge, and they'll just use that for trying to expand their material life, enjoying the sense, the gross and subtle aspects of material life. Why did you do that? He chastised him. And he said, you're not satisfied because you haven't given them the goal, the purpose. So you write about the Supreme Personality of Godhead in relation to all what you've written already. And therefore he compiled Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, the king of all literature, spotless Purana, Amala Purana, the beautiful story of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now we're reading in the Krishna book, which is a summary study of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, which Prabhupada prepared just in case he didn't stay long enough to finish the entire Bhagavatam. It's all there. We're reading for this upcoming Wednesday, which is Govardhan Puja, another incredibly wonderful pastime where Krishna manifests his personal identity, his relationship with his devotees, especially in the form of Govardhan Hill. So in the Krishna book, we're reading chapters 24, 25, 26, 27. Chapter 24 is worshiping Govardhan Hill, which is mainly comprised of Krishna convincing his father, Nanda Maharaj, even though he's like 6, 7 years old, to not worship Indra, which they've always done, specifically to make Indra angry, because Krishna knew that Indra was thinking he was the Supreme Lord. He has demigods like Indra, they have great power, and sometimes they forget where they got the power or why they have the power and position. Lord Indra is the god of water, of the weather, rain. So Krishna is convincing Nanda Maharaj and the other Vrijvasis, residents of Vrindavan, to not worship Indra. And even uses a mundane philosophy, karma mimamsa, that everything we do, all the results we get, are based on doing our prescribed duties. You do something good, you get good result. So you don't need the demigod, you just need to act properly. Mundane philosophy, Krishna uses it to defeat his father. Now, in one sense, Krishna also says by performing one's prescribed duties, one can become perfect. But that's in Krishna consciousness. That's what's understood. So chapter 24 is worshiping Govardhan Hill. It says, worship Govardhan Hill, much more important for the cows and the Brahmins and our lifestyle as Vaishyas, cow protectors. And chapter 25 is devastating rainfall in Vrindavan, where Krishna is successful in making Indra very angry, and he is so angry he wants to destroy Vrindavan. He wants to kill all the Vrijvasis, residents in Vrindavan. He wants to kill all the cows, including Krishna. Everyone. This talkative little boy. They listen to this talkative little boy. I'm going to teach them a lesson. They've given up worship of me. Of course, Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill like a massive umbrella, holds it up there for 7 days, and all the Vrijvasis come underneath there, happy and safe. And Indra is defeated. So then, the next chapter, 26, is wonderful Krishna. How the residents of Vrindavan are talking about, who is this boy? He's killed that demon, and he's been protected, and we've been saved, and he's killed that and the other demon. And Nanda Maharaj, we're thinking, he must be a demigod. And then Nanda Maharaj describes what Gargamuni, their family priest, said when he did the astrological chart of Krishna at the time of his appearance. Ultimately concluding that this boy will be just like Narayan. So they have no idea that Krishna is the supreme, and yet what's happened? They're trying to understand. So even though they conclude with Nanda Maharaj's advice from Gargamuni that this boy will be just like Narayan, all right, he's just like the supreme, and he's my wonderful child. Mother Yashoda is thinking, if I don't feed him, he will die. Such one. And then chapter 27 is Lord Indra's prayers to Lord Krishna. He accepts his actual position. He gets woken up by Krishna's chastisement. Krishna's merciful chastisement, and surrenders. And offers prayers to Krishna, asking for forgiveness, admitting his foolish craziness, and in relation to Krishna's greatness and perfection and love and power, accepts the lesson. So when we get chastised by Krishna through his material energy or otherwise, we want to learn how to take that as a great opportunity to deepen our understanding and relationship with Krishna through his perfect representatives, and give up the rebellious, struggling mentality, which is fruitless. There's fruit, but what's the fruit? It's frustration. The attempt to remain independent and to have more than we need is a source of frustration. And that frustration, why can't I? I don't want to suffer. Why do I have to suffer? And we take responsibility. Well, I'm suffering because I continue to avoid Krishna. That's the only reason they're suffering. Of course, on the transcendental level, the greatest suffering is separation of the pure devotees. And who was it when Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy, what is the greatest suffering? I'll refer again. He either said, I don't remember whether he said to be without the association of devotees or to be disconnected from, I think he said without the association of devotees. Because the association of devotees means I will always remember Krishna by their mercy. And the advanced devotee is known by his or her always talking about Krishna. And this month we have an extra special opportunity. So in one sense, the Veda, we have nothing to do with the Vedas. Although, at the same time, Shin Veda Veda Tattva, simultaneously one and different, we know the Vedas are meant to help us to advance in Krishna consciousness. So Varnashram, which Krishna created, that's social and spiritual orders of life, it must be there. So we reject the atheistic or the materialistic mentality of approaching or engaging according to the Vedas, and we take on the Daivi Varnashram, the accepting the ultimate purpose from the author of all. Even Vedavyas apparently deviated, and he gave us all the rituals and the ceremonies. But ultimately, he gave us the Srimad Bhagavatam. He put Krishna back in the center. And there's a description in the Nectar of Instruction that if we get too involved with the rituals, the ceremonies, the vows, the practices in the Vedas without Krishna, it's called niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations, Vedic injunctions, etc., only for the sake of following them. This is actually one thing which destroys devotional service. So it's very important for us to understand that it's like a razor's edge, Prabhupada describes. We're walking on a tightrope. If we lean a little too much one way, we'll fall off. We lean a little too much the other way, we fall off. So one meaning of niyamagraha, just has a different accent, distinguishing the two words which are spelled the same, niyamagraha, is to follow the rules and regulations just for the sake of following them. Or conversely, to reject the Vedas, the rules and regulations, capriciously and act whimsically. So my point here is that the Vedas are full of ceremonies, and we have so many ceremonies. Sometimes I read descriptions, for example, of the ritualistic following of Ekadashi, which we did the day before yesterday, Friday. And I often read, oh, you follow this particular Ekadashi and you'll be free from all sinful reactions. Now, is that my goal, to become free from sinful reaction? No. Because I have faith that liberation, including from sinful reactions, good and bad, comes automatically when I follow Krishna according to his pure devotees. So it's important to be very diligent and vigilant, that even though there's some apparently unlimited benefit by following Ekadashi, we don't do it for that purpose, except the spiritual benefit to advancing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada doesn't talk about, as far as I know, being free from sinful reactions separately from devotional service. Because by devotional service, that happens automatically. Krishna relieves us. And he says, finally, conclusively in Bhagavad-gita, Sarva Dhamma Parityajya. Just give up all other activities, all of the religious, I would say ritualistic activities, religious activities, and surrender unto me. So there obviously is a fine line. We don't give up we don't give up chanting, we don't give up following rules and regulations, but we take them, use them, we see them as assistance. Of course, chanting, that's direct, but following rules and regulations, that's very valuable for advancing in Krishna consciousness, as long as we remember the goal, keep Krishna in the center. And this section, these few verses in the Gita here in the second chapter are warning us about, telling us about what the contrasting approach is, and warning us. In the next verse, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, material opulence, which is just being described in the verse in the purport today, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So if there's too much attachment to those things, if that becomes the goal and the passionate endeavor, we cannot become steady, resolutely determined in devotional service. So that come up to time. So please share any questions or realizations or doubts about what we were discussing. And if you'd like me to send you the link, Zoom link, for this class every Sunday, New Zealand, Sunday, 9 a.m. New Zealand time, then let me know. And I encourage everyone to not only hear and chant Dhammadarastaka every day this month. I think if the month finishes 8th or 10th November. Check on your Vaishnava calendar. Every day, singing Dhammadarastaka, worshiping the Lord, if you can, with a candle or ghee. Beautiful picture of his young boyhood form with Mother Yashoda tying him up. Thank you all for your attendance and your attention. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Let us now offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Panchakalpajavescha, Kripasindavevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo. Anantakoti Vaishnava Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Kartik Rat Ki Jai, Shri Damodarasta Ki Jai. So for coming Wednesday, Govardhan Puja, please study Krishna book, chapters 24, 25, 26, and 27. Hare Krishna.